In this lesson, we'll learn how we can use guides to assist us in positioning our artwork. Alright, so in the last lesson, we learned about rulers inside Adobe Illustrator. And you know what, in case you've disabled your rulers or turned those off, let's go ahead and bring those back using the Control-R keyboard shortcut. We're going to need those for this lesson. Now, another valuable tool that Adobe's given us to help us accurately and precisely position artwork within our document is called a guide. Now, guides can easily be created within our document simply by pulling them out from both of our two rulers. Now, guides are really just another type of object in Illustrator, just with a few special types of settings. And we'll go through all those, but I tell you what, let's go ahead and grab some guides and pull those out here. So I'm just going to click on my ruler, and I'm going to pull out across my letterhead document here, my letterhead artboard, and you can see we have a little dotted line. Now wherever I choose to release this line, we're going to get a nice vertical blue line that spans the entire height of our artboard and our scratch area. If we zoom out, that guide is going to go all the way unto the end of the scratch area. So we can pull out guides just like so. Now, I mentioned before we can pull them out of both of our rulers, so let's go ahead and pull a few guides out of our horizontal ruler up here at the top. So I'm just going to grab those and pull those out here. Now, these are pretty free-flowing guides, and you can drop them really anywhere, but actually aligning them with any of the ticks in your ruler can actually be sort of tricky. There is actually a quick and easy shortcut to do that, though. If you go ahead and hold down your Shift key and you pull out the guide, you can snap these guides to the ticks in your ruler, which is really a helpful function, especially if you're trying to get that guide aligned precisely into a place on your artboard. Now, notice here that once I've already created some of these guides, I can't go in and click them and move them around anymore. That's because by default, guides in Illustrator are going to be locked. Let me go ahead and show you where we can go to unlock our guides. I'm going to come up here to our View drop-down menu, and let's come over here to Guides. And notice here there are some options. We have an option to lock guides, and it has a little check mark by it. So that means it's turned on. If we want to turn that off, let's just go ahead and select that. And now we've unlocked our guides, and we can actually click on these guides, and you know it's clicked down and it's selected because it turns this darker shade of blue. So we can click on our guides, we can move those around anywhere on our artboard here, just like so. Now, since we've just unlocked our artboards, we can actually even delete this guide just by hitting our backspace key on our keyboard. Now, if we wanted to go ahead and delete all of our guides, but maybe they're still locked, we could actually come up here to our View drop-down and go to Guides, and we can choose this Clear Guides option, and it'll get rid of all the guides within our document. Let me go ahead and undo that. I'm actually going to keep those guides here because I want to show you a couple of other items here. Now, we can actually hide our guides and remove them from view without deleting them also, just by coming to this Guides option again, and we're going to choose the Hide Guides option right there. You can see here that our guides have disappeared. Now, to bring those back, we're going to have to come back to that same spot and show the guides. Now, notice that there are keyboard shortcuts for this. Now, these are some keyboard shortcuts that the more time you spend in Illustrator, these are going to be committed to memory. So just work on doing that, or come up to this View drop-down menu, whatever you feel comfortable with. So I'm going to go ahead and bring those guides back here. Now, I mentioned earlier that guides are really just another type of object that we can bring into Adobe Illustrator. Now, I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that. Now, since we have our guides locked again, let's come up here and unlock those. And I tell you what, let's come in here and select one of these guides and release it. Now, remember, this is a guide right now, but if we were to come up and choose the Release Guides button right here, you can see here that this is now no longer just a guide. This is actually an object that we can move around. We can transform the size of it. Now, granted, this object goes all the way across our scratch area here, so it's very, very large, but we've actually just turned this into an object that we can take, and we can stretch it, we can shrink it, we can rotate it, we can do a lot of different things with this object. We can add a stroke to it. So really, we can convert our guides back into a vector object that we can manipulate just by releasing them. Now, I'm going to come in and undo that and turn that back into a guide here. There we go. I've stepped back a few times using the Control-Z keyboard shortcut. And I tell you what, let's go ahead and talk about how we can restrict these guides maybe we don't want these guides to come over and get in our way on this envelope artboard. We want these guides to only be on our letterhead artboard. So I tell you what, let's go ahead and get rid of these two guides. I'm holding down Shift and I've just drug a marquee around both those, and I'm going to delete them both at the same time here. And let's go into artboard edit mode just by selecting our artboard tool. And I'm going to go ahead and drag down those guides again here and drop them on this artboard. And let's go ahead and exit artboard edit mode. Alright, so you can see by doing that, it's going to constrain the guide to only appear on the artboard that we had selected in artboard edit mode. Pretty cool feature, and it's a nice way to really clean up your guides and keep them from bleeding over into additional artboards. Now, again, remember our guides are just another type of object here in Illustrator. I'm going to go ahead and delete these guides right now, and I'm going to go ahead and bring in some basic shapes here. Now, this is a simple rectangle shape, and let me just go ahead and give that a stroke. I'm going to come up and do that in my color panel, give that a black stroke, and I tell you what, let's even reverse that and make it a black fill. So we've got a black rectangle we've drawn on our screen here, and maybe, you know, for whatever reason, we want this to be a guide. We want a guide in the shape of this rectangle. Maybe we're going to have sort of an information box at the bottom of our letterhead, down here at the bottom, something like that. And we need a guide in the shape of a rectangle so we can lay that information out. And we'd rather just make a rectangle guide instead of dragging out two guides from the left, two guides from the top, and sort of making a rectangle out of 4 different guides. We could do that with the rectangle tool. Now I'm going to go ahead and convert this rectangle into guides by coming up to the View drop-down menu, choosing Guides, and I'm going to choose Make Guides right here. And I'm going to deselect that. Alright, so, and you can see what the result is here. We've essentially made a rectangle guide based on that rectangle shape. So we can really make a guide out of any shape here in Illustrator. If we wanted to come in and grab our line tool and draw in some custom lines, maybe at an angle like this, we can't drag out a guide at an angle like this, but we can sure draw a path using our line segment tool, and then we can convert that to a guide over here under Make Guides, and then we have a new guide at an angle. So really, you can convert any vector object into guides just simply by going to that View drop-down and choosing Make Guides. Pretty cool, huh? Alright, so in this lesson we have learned how to use and create guides here in Illustrator. Now we're able to better align and position our objects using a combination of these guides and our rulers. In the next lesson we're going to talk about a little different type of guide, and it's called a smart guide.